Welcome back. Outside Minds podcast. Because you've already seen too much, bro.
They only added it so it could be like a ritual.
They're saying there's these, the end of times, right? There's all these signs.
Do you think we would know? Like, do you think the general public would know this game?
Take a picture for $5. You have a purpose in life, and if you don't fulfill it, you will come back until you fulfill it.
And one. Welcome back, outsiders, to another episode of the saga, the story, the Outside Minds podcast. We got another guest that's coming back on. We made the internet upset last time with our talk about the CIA. We're gonna slide it on over to the Genie, and he's gonna tell you a little bit about himself and where our listeners could find him. Let's go.
What's up? I'm Genie. I'm an artist and musician from San Francisco. Right now, currently, I'm in my art car, which is, I call it the Crystal Mirror Spaceship. I created my own style called Mylart. I make art out of Mylar. I create immersive spaces with a reflective Mylar, as kind of like what you can see here. Give you a little, tour of the place or whatever. And yeah, I've been an artist full-time for about 20-something years now, 23 years, since 2002. And I'm a live looping innovator. I create a unique style of live looping with guitar, synth, and vocoder, and DJing, and that kind of thing. So music is my life. It has been for, a couple of decades. But even before music, I was always very inquisitive and doing a lot of research about all sorts of esoteric topics.
Yes.
Even since high school, I'd be like all geeking out in the library, reading about UFOs. This is before the internet, mind you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, I've been, it's kind of like, I feel like for the last 30 years, I've been kind of like calibrating my third eye to really pick up on things when I watch movies, commercials, cartoons. It really jumps out at me. And even since 2020, I feel like a lot of it has accelerated, where I could see it everywhere. Even, after 2020, the events that happened during 2020, I noticed right away that, there was all these official signs everywhere, right? That would be like, stay 6 feet apart. But of course, they got to have it all three languages, to be inclusive, and in case no one gets it, so they'd have the six, they'd be like 6 feet apart in English, 6 feet apart in Spanish, 6 feet apart in Tagalog, like, what, like 6 feet.
Yeah, that reminds me of when they released Leave the World Behind. Didn't it have some kind of...
I didn't even watch that movie, bro. So
okay, no,
I
on the
I know
poster,
the movie for sure,
on the
but I never
poster it
watched
had
it.
some kind of letters that spelled out like ball or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, on the movie poster it had like some kind of like letters that spelled out like some demon or something like that.
Okay.
There's all sorts of that, but in that movie, I didn't see it either, but I saw a lot of people analyze it because it was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
The Obamas put it together, but they got two of the protagonists standing next to each other, and one has an Obey shirt, and the person standing next to him has a NASA shirt. So it's like, obey NASA, you know what I'm saying? So it's right there, you know what I mean?
Randomly, I have found a picture recently, but I have a pin, and it says disobey cops, but the dis is Disney, and obey is obey, and the cops is the show Cops. So it says disobey cops, but in those three fonts.
Oh, damn.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's crazy that you bring up NASA, because we recently did an episode on Stanley Kubrick, and like you said, like there's symbolism everywhere. It's in movies, it's in pop culture, it's in music,
commercials.
You're always seeing like connections to like Aleister Crowley and his rituals and stuff like that. And we seek to understand things like this. We're not out here practicing black magic, but if we can seek to understand the symbols that are around us all the time and the connections to the secret societies that seem to be having hands behind the scenes, we can figure out what's going on and try to protect ourselves from any kind of things that they might throw at us, whether it be rituals or bad energy or anything like that. Can you agree?
Absolutely. I feel like at this point it's too obvious to like ignore, and it's kind of like we maybe not be practicing it, but they're practicing it against us. So it's kind of like to have like a like a firewall, the way you'd want to protect your computer. We're trying to protect your psyche and your soul and your spirit, because apparently there is a lot of like psychic warfare, spiritual warfare kind of going on. You mentioned Stanley Kubrick, and it's funny because I was just thinking about his movie in 2001, Space Odyssey, right? So this theme, and that was like 1969 or thereabout,
Something
you
back
know?
there,
when it
yeah.
came to-
Yeah. It was like
Way
around
back
the
then,
time
you
of the moon
The
landing,
moon,
supposed
yeah.
moon landing.
Well, here's the thing: is do you remember in the movie, the one of the main protagonists, he had like a kind of like Siri, where it would be like a robot would talk to him, and the robot had a British accent, of course.
Yeah.
But so they've been prepping us with that, where like even going back to the late 60s, where it was like, oh, get used to like you have like your little sidekick, a robot friend,
helper.
advisor, whatnot. And in the
R2D2.
movie, the robot, its initials, the acronym was HAL, HAL.
Oh, I remember that.
Okay. HAL. But what is HAL? You just move the letters over in the alphabet. It's IBM. H right next to I, A right next to B, L right next to M. So it's just IB. It's just slightly encrypted. You know what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like that, you know. And even in the 80s, right? You had like, remember Knight Rider, Kit, right? Kit. So this was funny. So I've been picking it up. You know, when you talk to Siri, right? That's just iris backwards.
Iris backwards,
right?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
the iris, right?
Yes.
It's the all-seeing eye, right? But just today I was watching a movie that I saw 40 years ago. It was called Runaway. It was like this thing somewhere between RoboCop and Blade Runner. You know, it was
Okay.
it was like 1984, and it was Tom Selleck was the main protagonist. You know, he's a cop. You know, and it's called Runaway because he has to like search all these like basically capture all these escaped rogue robots controlled by like the bad guy. And in the movie, ironically, the bad guy is the main antagonist is Gene Simmons. You know Gene Simmons
Yeah.
from Kiss?
Oh
For sure.
yeah.
He's like and he's a good actor. I didn't even realize, but he's actually I was never a Kiss fan or whatever, but he makes a good villain, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But in that movie, you know, I didn't watch the whole thing. It's free on YouTube now because, you know, it's one of those movies and people don't know it like they know Blade Runner. It happened, but I saw it like on Cinemax when I was a child, and I always remembered there were little images in my mind that I remembered because it's kind of like about drones, but back then there were no drones. So it was like in the future, like the drones and the this and that, right? But he also has this little robot, like he has a robot around the house, like I prepared dinner for you tonight, and you have the, you know, kind of like his little helper, and it was called Sirius. You know, because in the scene, some lady's like, "Oh, which model do you have?" And he's like, "I have Sirius 12." And she's like, "Oh, I had Sirius 10." But it's like Siri, it's right there, right?
Yeah.
And this is 1984, so it's like, oh, there you go. That's that's a coincidence.
I was gonna say was it that Black Mirror, right? One of the episodes where they had the robot, but it was based in like the 70s. They moved into a house that already had a system put in, and the robot started freaking them out because it was becoming more sentient, trying to fall in love with the husband, and just gaslighting the wife, making her go crazy.
Damn.
And it was based in like the 70s. You know, this is like only
Yeah,
the rich people had this. I think it was Black Mirror from this season. I think it was Black Mirror.
Yeah, they've been doing this forever. They've been doing this even since the early days of Marvel. Well, I don't know if the early days of Marvel, but I know that with Jarvis, with Iron Man, he has the AI sidekick. But even with Marvel and DC, they're always throwing like that esoteric kind of stuff in there because you have Aquaman that comes from Atlantis, and then you have Thor that's like part of Norse mythology. So they're always kind of throwing like stuff in there to like put it in front of your face within the movies and stuff. You know what I mean? And the people like us who have that third eye open, like you said, pick up on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got to tell people, I tell them all the time, is you don't have to believe in it, but they believe in it and they're doing it. So just recognize when they're doing it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the thing is a lot of this people think of it as strictly entertainment, but it's not. It's like there's something way deeper to it, you know. And it's ritualistic, it's mind control, it's programming. You know, they even tell you back to your scheduled programming, like you're being programmed. You know what I'm saying? And most folks, you know, from having discussed this for decades with people, I've already noticed the psychological profile of most people is that anyone could be programmed or mind controlled except them. Most people like to think that, they're so, you know, they could never be like, and it's, you almost just got to work around that. Like, all right, you know, yeah, of course not you, but like most people, you know, because it's very, unfortunately it'd be like one thing if the mind programming was to like elevate people, make them smarter, make them more wholesome and more whatever, you know, all those kumbaya, whatever. But like in reality, it's to degrade the society, to make folks dumber, to make them less critical, more obedient, and you know, compliant. All these things, you know what I'm saying? Like
Idiocracy.
So the programming is very dark. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
a lot of people like to think that, you know, the mind programming can't happen on the lower levels, but it definitely happens on the higher levels. You know, you got handlers and stuff. You got that guy Harley Pasternak who was sending that weird text message to Kanye West. It's like, if you say stuff, you're gonna end up in loopy land and you'll never see your kids again. And all of a sudden, he shaves his eyebrows and he's talking about like Hitler and stuff like that. And I noticed that every time you see shaved eyebrows, like it's some kind of like go crazy. You know what I mean? You got Jenna Ortega. Played a witch, shaved her eyebrows. Ariana Grande played a witch, Wizard of Oz, shaved her eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? There was another one, Doja Cat, started doing all kind of witchy stuff.
Oh, she started doing all this crazy,
you know? And it makes you
dark
think,
shit.
is it part of some kind of humiliation ritual? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
is it the people directing the music videos? Because I know she's not writing these scripts.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's
Yeah.
a bigger agenda behind the artist. They're just the tool.
Are they possessed by some kind of
But
demon
it's-
that likes their eyebrows shaved?
Well,
you
no,
know?
I think it's a combination of both. Is these people do all these rituals, and since they're the center of the ritual, whether they want to be or not, they're getting attached. Or these demons are getting attached
Yeah,
to them,
yeah,
and then
absolutely.
they're carrying that energy, and they become that person.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if they didn't want to or not.
Damn, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Todd
yeah.
dropping bombs.
I mean, that's how I see it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about that? You've been in the music business, usually music industry, you said, like, you know, for about 20 years. Have you seen anything up close and personal that's convinced you, like, yo, like, there's, you know, definitely a different layer to this stuff that the normal person doesn't see?
No, absolutely. Well, the thing is, you know, I've been aware of it and been sensitive to it for a long
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and it's gotten so over the top obvious that it's not even like, I mean, it's almost like it can be super obvious, but if people have been programmed to just take it as, or I don't like they develop a blind spot for it. It can be right in their face, but it doesn't affect them. There's just like this apathy. There's this like, kind of like mindless
NPCs.
You know, yeah, like NPCs.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of a trip, right? That term that's about 5 years older,
Right,
you know, or so
right.
that I've been hearing non-player characters,
Yes,
folks that are just kind of background characters, but they don't have inner dialogue, right? Inner monologue kind of vibes. I don't know. That's what I hear. But you know, it does kind of feel like an uphill battle sometimes because it can get obvious and it still doesn't trigger anything in people. And it's very consistent. It's like yeah, it feels like there's an agenda to promote this like dark, demonic, satanic kind of, you know, Sam Smith, right? Was he?
Oh, yeah, the artist,
he's a big
right?
one.
Yep.
He went from singing all wholesome to now
Dressing
devil
up all
horns,
crazy.
unholy, right? At the Grammy,
Yep.
you know, performance. It's like all in red and as demonic as it could look. Even it's almost like a rite of passage. If you want to, you know, succeed in your career, take off, then you have to don all this satanic imagery and
Sell your soul,
and also-
right? Since the beginning of time, they always say sell your soul when you're doing music.
Yeah. People
Right.
want to say all the time that they're not influenced, but these same people will be like, "There's a Beyonce concert at the Super Bowl." You
I'm
know what I'm
part
saying?
of the
And the
Beehive.
Super Bowl halftime show will be like a ritual for the whore of Babylon. You know what I'm saying? And it's like all that mass attention, and then all of a sudden, Beyonce goes from doing this whole mass ritual at the Super Bowl to doing a concert at the Harris campaign.
Yep.
And we're not supposed to think that music, politics, and all this isn't
Doesn't have
connected.
an influence.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah. It's kind of remember the Red Hot Chili Peppers album Blood Sugar Sex Magic. You know,
yeah,
that was
yeah,
like kind of like their breakout album, you know?
Yeah.
That's when I was in high school and but I didn't think of it. I was just like a Chili Peppers fan and
For
it was all
sure.
whatever, but then later when I
Later.
really, you know, getting into the whole music industry, like things that, you know, things that happen in the back doors, whatever, is sex magic. They're putting it right there. Blood. I mean, come on now, blood, like rituals and whatnot. Sex magic, you know, blood sugar, sex magic. So it's all right there, and it is what it is. I mean, I like to think that some folks are waking up in the fringes, but I think like what you guys are doing, it's helping to you know,
For sure,
at least have the dialogue, because most folks, if they, you know, hopefully if they're somewhat inquisitive and care, they'll, you know, at least hear it out. And I
For
think
sure.
it's pretty obvious and incontrovertible right now that something is happening to really steer society in a very dark dark path.
It's these people that don't want to believe that the people running this country or running the world would do them harm, right? They're here to protect us. They're the leaders of the world, right? So that's what a lot of people, whether they see it or not, they wouldn't want to believe that that dude would do that to their own people.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, not only that, but it gives you like this sort of kind of responsibility to where you have to like.
You feel like you have to tell
to do
people and
something. Yeah,
change the
you have
world.
to.
And it's like, but you can only save yourself at the end of the day. But we can't inform everybody.
Yeah, but at the same time too, like I just think some of the normal people that are confronted with, oh, actually everything might be a lie, and a lot of stuff like the music I listen to might be more evil. That takes a lot more of a moral and ethical search within yourself. To
Yeah,
be
like a self cleanse almost within yourself.
And it's a lot of responsibility that a lot of people don't want to take. So they'll just be like, all right, I'm just gonna keep falling for the illusion. Like all of that stuff is fake. Like none of that stuff is rituals or anything like that. Like that's how I feel like
it's
a lot
coincidence.
of people. That's how I feel like a lot of people react to it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, congratulations. I saw you were on the Tinfoil Hat podcast.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've been watching that forever.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hell
that's what got us into doing podcasts, bro.
Hell yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
Yeah, I started listening to him like 6 years ago. And I showed him the podcast, and it was a wrap since then.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's so
Okay,
funny.
so that was like your inspiration to launch it.
Definitely.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so funny because the further you get up and the further, you know, I was in the music industry for a little bit. I guess I kind of consider myself, I still am, but I feel like Hollywood kind of works like the mob, you know what I'm saying? Like they give you this fame and they give you these chances and these opportunities to do these things, and then when they make the call on you, you got to go play a puppet, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of the people that make it to a certain level, they either they play the puppet, or they don't want to play and they get ostracized or accused of something, or they end up getting killed.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
remember Hobson, right?
Yeah.
He was the one that he got signed to Eazy-E's wife, Ruthless Records, back in the day. Did him dirty as fuck, and all he wanted to be. He started his own label after that, but they pushed him in the corner. They were like, "Nope, you don't want to play ball, no more."
Do you think
Didn't Hobson was the one, he was saying how Gucci Mane was like a clone? Did you see that?
Probably,
Or like that
probably.
Gucci Mane, or something to the effect of like.
I remember
sometimes apparently they have like doubles playing the same character.
Yeah,
We
I
talked
remember
about
that
last
big
time.
Gucci clone thing after he came out of prison. That was a big story because he was half his size. He can actually
Right.
speak English. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then again, it's like, I don't know. You go to prison for a while, you have nothing to do but work out and read books. You're probably
but
gonna get a
honestly,
little smarter.
though, there is a strange pattern between celebrities that are on the come up, and then when they get to this level of fame, or something weird happens, and then they go through like a body transformation.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle,
For sure, a lot of people.
Drake,
Even
Kali Uchis.
even Kanye himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they always go through some body transformation, and if since you mentioned Kanye West, we got to bring back up Harley Pasternak, the personal trainer,
the
who's
trainer,
most obviously a handler,
and who's in charge of multiple famous people,
yeah,
not
yeah,
just
yeah.
Kanye.
Yeah. Brittany Murphy, Mac Miller. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Insane, bro.
Yep. That's the
Yeah.
music industry in a nutshell. These people.
I mean, most
you know who
people
they
I
are.
know that are like aspiring, most like artists and aspiring musicians who are really trying to, they tend to just overlook any of that. They're just like, oh, they're successful.
Give me the money.
That's what I want.
Give me the
and,
fame.
You know. So it's a trip because, like I said, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, but I just do it organically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm in San Francisco, so this place kind of lost since it became a tech city like
Yeah.
20 something years ago. The music and the art element of it was just pushed out, and just it hasn't really been relevant for that. Like no one moves to San Francisco for their music
because like in the 80s, hip hop, graffiti, that was Frisco, right? Like that was
straight up.
That was
it
the
was
scene.
the shit back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it had a lot of influence across the board. The music, the art, the turntablism, the graffiti, everything.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think
it became a different place.
I think it's great to have people like you around that are not going to compromise your values for the art and are going to stay true to the art, because you see like a lot of these people that, they trade the money and the fame for the bidding of, the government or whatever it is, the hand behind the whole scene, you know what I'm saying? And it used to be rock stars and it was rappers, and nowadays it's more streamers and
for
content creators, you know what I'm saying? Like they're just getting these random money. You got fucking Aiden Ross bringing on fucking whoever, all these rappers, and give them $500K to just be on stream with them for 2 hours, and it's like, bro, like
they got to be pushing something because nobody spends that money just because.
that or money laundering. You know
Well,
what I mean?
both. It's both.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Rogan, right, got $100 million deal.
200, I
You
think.
know, with
200
Spotify.
million, maybe. Yeah, and then then they what? They got mad at him, right? Or no? Who was the artist that? Who was the artist that didn't want to go on Spotify because Joe Rogan was on there?
Yeah,
Bob
Young,
Dylan or something
Neil
like that?
Young.
No,
you know?
Neil Young. Yeah,
yeah,
Neil Young, right?
big
Yeah.
deal. Yeah, that's so funny, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had because Rogan had Doctor.
Yeah, because he had somebody on his podcast. It's crazy when it
Well,
gets
that
to
goes
that
to
level.
show he's still doing the bidding of the hand behind the
Of
scenes.
somebody.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's just like play that role. And I think that's why a lot of actors are scumbags, because, you know, movies and media are like a deeper layer to the illusion. You know what I mean? And they're there to uphold an illusion through movies and media.
Movie magic is big.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. Movie magic.
Right, Industrial Light and Magic, right? That George Lucas,
Mm-hmm.
right? His company is Industrial Light and Magic, so it's right there in the, you know.
Yeah.
I'm saying. So yeah, it's a trip, right? Because a lot of actors go on to become politicians, right? Go on to be what, like we had the governor.
The governor.
You know?
I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that. The
You
governor.
know, and who else was in Predator? You also had Jesse Ventura. He became the governor of like Minnesota. You know,
And he's a
so
straight
it's
character.
just there's like a direct pipeline from Hollywood to politics, and you know, going back to Reagan, whatever,
Trump.
because they're almost like
Trump's
you know,
the
they can
biggest
play a
one. He's
role.
president now. He was a reality TV star.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the direct pipeline from Hollywood to politics, because I think that was going on way before Hollywood. Because if you really think about it, they say that Shakespeare was a compendium of Freemasons, and a lot of the Freemason kind of stuff was in his plays and stuff like that. And you can say that they were using media to influence the collective consciousness.
Didn't he say the world is a stage?
Yeah,
He
exactly.
said even when I'm gone, you don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm only here. This is a movie.
Yeah, and there's all kind of like codes and stuff in his work and stuff like
Yep.
that, kind of like Da Vinci and stuff
Yep.
like that. So you get characters like that, and you got to really study these characters in history, because they're leaving,
telling you something.
They're leaving clues behind as to what's really happening behind the scenes that most people are too lazy to really.
They
look
don't want to
into.
decipher.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was presumably it was Shakespeare. He was Sir Francis Bacon.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
one of the
exactly.
codes
Yep,
that,
exactly.
Yeah, Sir
Exactly.
Francis Bacon. And it was like like how was he speaking like 8 languages and shit like that? Like they're just
Yeah.
a lot of the logistics of, you know. So that's what it ends up being too. Kind of last time we were talking about the Beatles, remember, and it was Tavistock Institute, and how like a lot of their work apparently, according to the research of a lot of these conspiracy researchers regarding them, it basically are trying to say that the Tavistock Institute would employ a lot of like ghostwriters, composers, and committees, have whole committees writing all that music, because and that these would just be the figureheads. So oftentimes when you see these characters like Elon or whatever, like Shakespeare, let's say, it's just a figurehead, but behind him it's like a whole shadow network that is really making it happen, but don't want to be the front person to take all the attention and what, so they can kind of work their magic, and that it's all script, like you said, the whole world is a stage. So all the politics are just staged. To me, to this day, it sounds like it's so awkward that we're divided between red and blue when those are like gang colors.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it makes it seem like, okay, so clearly this is just gang banging for normies. It's like
that's all it is. My
societal
side
version
versus
of
your
gang
side.
banging.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, okay, it went Trump, Biden, Trump, and one of the biggest issues was the border. So supposedly when Biden got in office, they let the borders wide open. And when Trump gets back into office, we have a border problem. So it's like the Hegelian dialectic, you know what I'm saying? You create a problem and you make a solution that's going to be whatever solution you want. You know
But
what I'm
you
saying?
know there's going to be a divide within that solution.
Exactly, and it's better for them because
Yeah, for
divide
sure.
and
That's what
conquer.
they want. Yeah. Let's please these people, but let's fuck these people.
Yeah.
And these people won't even realize it.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the irony too is that connecting it back to the movies is that they put the play in the movies, the play, right? Like the playbook, whatever their play, what they're gonna pull off. It's been in hella movies, like even in what was it, in one of these one of the Predator movies, there was this whole thing where it was like a Latin American invasion was happening, and and so they planned meticulously this whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
And that was more recently. I heard there was like some Marvel movie or whatever, and like the antagonizers were like from the Middle East, and it's kind of like playing on what's going on right now, but without directly.
Oh, it was like an Israeli,
something like that.
Yeah. It was in one of the Marvel movies, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah. It's so crazy because they don't have to tell you exactly what it is, but if you know what's going on, that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, it's predictive programming. It's the reason why they do rituals at the Super Bowl, because they have a mass amount of people paying attention. And I think that's one of the reasons why The Simpsons has a big influence on why, whether it's predictive programming or future predictions, because it's supposed to be the American family that a lot of people watch. You know what I mean? Think about how many American families watched that from when it started in 1989 till now.
Yeah, when I didn't have cable, we had 12 channels, and that was the fam. That was, we all got together. We watched The Simpsons. We watched Cops. We watched the news, and then America's Most Wanted, bro. Every night, that was the program in Channel 11.
Think about how much of that programming was like Cops in the News, trauma based.
That was a family program for me. Cops and America's Most Wanted, bro. It was like that was #1 entertainment. That was late 90s, like that was great TV.
What kind of stuff can you say is in music and media now that you feel like is predictive programming or is just put there to put us into a state of fight or flight, survival mode, keep us in a low vibration?
I mean, of course, the drill music. The drill is just murder music, and it's
trap and drill.
That whole thing is just super dark. It's predicated on young dudes like who are impressionable, come from poverty, and to just murder each other. That's like super obvious. So it's kind of part of that whole unconventional warfare, where there's a whole other kind of warfare where you don't invade with tanks and armies
have
and
them kill each other.
Obvious.
Yeah, you have them kill each other.
Even like going back to the 90s, like remember what we were talking about last time with Tupac and all that. It was like, okay, it was like the whole thug life program where it was like the psyop was, this is gonna be all that shit. And it was I even think it tied into like later they were gonna have like defund the police, so they started off with fuck the police. It's most folks just assume this is just all happening just like the way the news describes it. News is north, east, west, and south, the acronym of news, right? Whatever. So it's just even the word government, right? Government is the mind, so it's just governed mind, really. So it's I'll tell you, it's extremely rare. It happens every blue moon. Most time, if I kind of try to analyze this and discuss it with folks, and if they haven't heard it before, they're just instantly like incredulous and just no, it can't be. Every blue moon, I find someone who'll just take it in, like that I can hear hear it out without getting emotional about it. That's the thing. Most folks are like, or their ego. It's like it challenges their ego because their ego doesn't want to believe that they could be fooled or they could be influenced in any way.
My coworkers always they look at me like I'm crazy. I've been doing this podcast for 2 years talking about this stuff. I don't care if you think I'm crazy, but now there's a few that come around and they're listening to the podcast and they're coming up with their own stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. At least you've opened your mind to that. Yeah. And it, like you said, people who are doing podcasts like this, there are a few people that are kind of waking up to at least what is really going on.
Yeah, and I mean,
they have to. They have to want to. That's the thing, is you can't force them to think.
It's a responsibility they don't want to take on.
That's why we have to make it entertaining.
Like you were saying earlier, it's like they're afraid to like feel like, oh, then I'll have to do something. But that's the thing, is most folks there's also that fear. And I guess most folks, I've noticed that their real fear is being ostracized. Like they're like, it might be true, but I don't want to look like I'm a crazy person and be ostracized. So it gets back to that herd mentality. Where they just want, at some ancestral genetic something programming, they know that being excluded from the herd would mean certain death. Right? Or like if you got kicked out of the tribe, then you're fed, so they like to think, but it's illusory. In this society, it's, everyone's segregated, segmented, individualized, where in the community where I live, I can't even call it a community, but the neighborhood I lived, everyone just like does their own thing, goes, and they're not even socially avoidant, right? Everyone has this socially avoidant programming where they're just not trying to connect with each other, which is perfect if you're trying to control all of them, but program them to not connect with each other and not form a community, and which my instinct is opposite, is always, and that's why I roll the way I do, right? Like everywhere I go, I attract like the way you see, like, you'll see a light source and all these bugs are hovering around it. That's kind of like what it's like driving this thing around, where like anywhere I land, I'll have like people just instantly come and want to connect. And
it's like you're breaking the illusion for them. It's like, pay attention to this for a few minutes
Hey,
while you get off that Black Mirror.
This is real.
Yeah.
This, like, you think this can't be in reality, but yeah, people do this. There's people doing this stuff around. But speaking of community and stuff, just last night, like, because I grew up in apartments, right? And we were talking last night with my friends, like, when I grew up in apartments, I knew all the neighbors, right? We all went out. We all had barbecues. We all rode our bikes. I go back to any apartment now, nobody's outside. None of the kids know each other. There's no sense of community. Like, I don't get it, because that was how I grew up,
I noticed that right when social media came out.
It's the internet,
and
bro.
right when apps came out, that when I was, like you said, growing up, like on the block, like all the kids would just play out on the block, like on a summer day, like almost every block would just have kids riding the bikes around, jumping rope and stuff like that. And now, like, you don't see any of that, because they're all on Roblox. They're all on Instagram. They're all like on TikTok. Even when they're at like parties and stuff like that, they'll all hang out at a party and be on their phones and texting each other from the phone. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about that?
That's very true. Even, since 2020, when there was social distancing, that became, I mean, think about it. If you force people to act that way for like a year and a half, 2 years, however long that lasted, it was almost just long enough so that it would
You're
stay.
programming them,
But one thing that I discovered, which I never heard anyone make this connection, but I saw it, is that during that whole time, people started to get the stimulus check, right? A stimulus, and it was attached to like, here's the new protocol, but you get your stimulus.
Let me make you feel good in this time of distress, just for a little bit.
Well, check this out. Like there's a conditioning, right? They call it classical conditioning and operant conditioning, right? When mind control, behavioral control. And for instance, in the Pavlovian experiment, where Pavlov, right, the scientist, he would give the dog food and then ring a bell, and eventually, if you just rang the bell, the dog's mouth would salivate. But in these experiments, they don't call it food; they call it stimulus. You know what I'm saying? So it's so it's on that level, and no one made the connection. They're just like, and so that's why people just took it on, like, okay, whatever. So it was like giving the dog food. It was giving the humans the stimulus, and so they were on board. It's like, whatever, you want me to take what? Like, take a shot, take whatever it is, put on the mask, all that, because it was attached to the stimulus. And the fact that it was because stimulus, it was like, everyone's like, oh, sure, stimulus, but and it's crazy that they used it and they still called it stimulus. They didn't even have to disguise it, like call it something else, so they don't pick up that it's stimulus.
I was gonna mention that earlier. That kind of ties into, like, they have to tell you what they're doing in order for the magic to work. You have to accept it, whether you're accepting it or not. That's the reason behind symbolism. So until you understand exactly why it's there, then you can break that little, like you said, a force field kind of over what they're trying to put on you. But you have to realize it. Yeah,
that's why it's important to study this kind of stuff and figure out what they believe and figure out the symbols and what they think the symbols mean. You know what I'm saying?
Because they've been doing this for a long time. And if you start connecting things from the 70s to now, it's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? That's not a coincidence.
Yeah. Like one of the new, not new, but one of the Gunna albums has him like this as the Vitruvian Man, the Leonardo da Vinci drawing, and it's like, all right, we know you know something now. You know what I'm saying? So they're just putting stuff right in front of your face, and like we keep saying, the people who know how to pick it up will know that there's something going on there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I guess what we hope is that there'll be a critical mass where people will finally get in enough numbers that'll make a difference versus on the fringes. Right. And that's the thing, is a lot of it is just mental. People don't want to be on the fringes. They want to be part of the mass, part of, so a lot of it is that. And and the celebrities, even, since 2020, like all the celebrities that came on board and got paid to promote the thing, you know what I mean? The mask and all those and everything. And so, I do my part. I guess there's an art to it too, right? Like I have my own method, and I keep it to like art and music, but they oftentimes they're speaking to us through symbols and through, it's more subtle. It's in the movie, in even like we were talking about Stanley Kubrick earlier, presumably The Shining, in The Shining, he's symbolically describing how he was presumably the guy who got the job to like pull off the fake moon landing. 'Cause he was the expert. He showed that in 2000 Space Odyssey, he could, he was like funded for, all of a sudden he went
I
from
can
being
film
this
this.
rogue.
Like I'm the man. I can make it look real.
Well, it's funny. Okay, there's a movie that I really recommend. It's called Wag the Dog. Did you ever see Wag the Dog?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
But in that movie, that director, Dustin Hoffman, his name is Stanley. You know? Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's kind of, and that was like way back in the 90s, but like.
Let us know for our listeners who have never seen Wag the Dog. Tell them what that film is about.
So this is a movie from like mid-late 90s, and it's all A-list actors like Robert De Niro and Woody Harrelson and William H. Macy, Dustin Hoffman, just tons of Willie Nelson and all sorts of, just a lot of well-known people. But the movie itself was about like a think tank that is hired by a politician, like the president, he gets in some like sex scandal or something like that. So he hires a team that is gonna basically create some fake story about a country warfare invading. I think it was Albania was like going to be the new enemy, but it was all arbitrary and it was all green screen and all the attacks on the town, and it was all literally green screen. And it was all, everyone involved, they made it was like considered dark humor, dark comedy or whatever. But it was like everyone would have to sign off that and non-disclosure agreement that if they spoke on any of this, they were all going to play the role of like, oh, this person's playing the role of like the refugee girl escaping this burning town or something, but it's an actress and she's just trying to make it,
mother
and has to sign away
like
that like if anyone says anything, they get whacked, right? And in the movie, Stanley Kubrick's character, or Stanley, Dustin Hoffman's character, he lets on that he wants the world to know that he was behind it, that he was the Mr. like, his ego, right? So they're like, oh, okay. The next thing you know, you see the headline, "Oop, died of a heart attack," So
and it's right before what's it called came out.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut. And supposedly they edited it. That's not Kubrick's edit. You see, supposedly
he died before the final edit.
The final cut. Yeah. So who knows what other stuff he had in there, right?
Wag the Dog, the story that's about Hollywood making up a fake war, also basically told you that Stanley Kubrick was gonna die right before Eyes Wide Shut came out.
Yeah.
The whole thing it ties together. Yeah. Well, you know what the trip is? Woody Harrel's character in that movie, he's like a prisoner, like some scumbag, but they're like trying to find some they're gonna fake oh, we found a POW and we rescued him and he blah blah blah, this that and the other. But for that they're like we need to find, so they pull Woody Harrelson out of prison, pretending and dress him up like, oh, he's a POW and he's really just a scumbag. But he became like the hero, and it was all just to, I think that was kind of hinting at how they were gonna make George Floyd, he was this criminal guy who all of a sudden was the hero because he was a martyr and it's it sparked off the whole BLM thing. And it was and he was he went from being, so they're wow, we're gonna make someone who's he had been in jail for what is it, breaking and entering and robbing a pregnant lady, putting a gun to her, that's not so, but there's the magic is to get people to revere him, and suddenly murals of him and anyway, he was just the figurehead to it's part of that programming. You need a figurehead, and then even the Black Lives Matter, I think what they're really hinting at is not they're talking about dark matter, so it's part of the magic is this whole, it's not Black lives as in humans, it's dark matter.
Dark
you know what
souls.
I'm saying? They're trying to open up a portal, you know what I'm saying? And by having tens of millions of people talking about the black matter, the rabbit hole goes deep, and it's very esoteric. I mean, some of it is very surface level, like seeing Doja Cat dressed like a weird demon with that funky thing. It's so super dumb obvious, and scary and trippy, or Trippy Red, whatever, his whole.
For sure.
I'm watching one of these Trippy Red videos where it was all a satanic mask,
demonic,
red light and pentagram.
Yeah.
And one of the comments was I feel like I gotta go drink some holy water after
Yeah,
watching this.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, because
it's-
you are getting that energy when you're watching it,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Even the word Hollywood, they used to make magic sticks
the
out
witches,
of the holly tree.
Yeah, the witches sticks
You
out
know
of the
what I'm
holly
saying?
tree. So
Yeah.
Hollywood is magic itself.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's crazy that Hollywood blurs the line between
Reality.
real life, and fantasy. And we got to bring up Jim Carrey. You know what I'm saying? He always chooses to
Bro.
play roles that make you question reality.
And
whether
every
it be
role-
the Truman Show, whether it be Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or even when he did the Andy Kaufman show.
I don't think he's an actor.
documentary.
I think everything was a documentary. I don't think anything was a movie, bro. I think everything he was in was a documentary, and he says that himself.
We got to do a whole Jim Carrey episode.
Remember when we
dude?
watched the Andy Kaufman one when we microdosed, bro? Wild, bro. Wild.
Yeah.
Well, in the Truman, right? That's like true
Yeah.
man, right? That was the whole thing of it. But in that movie, even when the lights fall from, remember he walks outside and light fixture falls out of the
Yeah.
sky.
Yep.
Yeah.
He picks it up and
Yeah.
it says Sirius.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And it says Sirius. And then it says in parentheses like 9 Cana Major or whatever, because like Dog Star, Sirius is considered the
Yeah.
Dog Star.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But so it's super dumb, obvious, like in that regard. So it's
Because that always
Yeah,
comes up
it-
when you research about like the Dogon tribe that knew about Sirius B, which is actually a
Sirius A
binary
and
star
Sirius
for
B,
Sirius. Yeah, so they're putting it right in your face in those movies that he chooses to play a role in.
Yep.
And when he's in the media, they're doing interviews with him. He's like, "I'm
Nothing's
actually not
real.
a person.
Nothing's
Nothing's real.
real.
I'm just a bunch of particles floating around."
He was like, what you really care about this? Does this matter? He goes, I don't want to be here. I don't care about this. Like, nothing's real. What do you?
Yeah.
And he's dead serious.
Yeah, he had a poem about reality and death and afterlife at the end of one of the Weeknd's recent albums, which is really fucking good album about like he talks about eating mushrooms on the album and life and death and like a lot of those kind of stuff and like he chooses to pop in on things that are gonna make you question
And
reality.
like every crazy person like that, he's a great artist, right? Everyone goes to painting, right?
Yeah. He's a great actor.
Yeah. Oh, he's one of the best.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
grew up watching him, you know? The Mask.
you found Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like The Mask,
course.
right? That's the mask. Like, people have a mask, right?
How much do you know about the esotericism in like Led Zeppelin? Like they used the Hermit from the Tarot on their
Cover?
album cover and stuff like that.
Zoso
And-
on the cover of Zoso.
yeah, how
or
much do you know
whatever,
about that stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I know what what was it? Jimmy Page, the guitarist,
Yep.
ended up buying what was like the estate of
Aleister
the
Crowley.
ranch, right?
Aleister Crowley, right?
At Loch Ness,
That
I
was a
think.
lot.
Loch Ness Ranch or
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
He
I
did
think so,
some
yeah.
ritual and left some portal open with
Oh,
a
that
bunch
was
of
Jack.
demons.
That
there.
was Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard that did that, and Aleister Crowley told them to close it, and they didn't listen. And then what did
Really?
they start? Scientology after that. Yeah.
It's
Yes.
crazy. It's crazy how close the story of Scientology and Mormonism is until you read about the perennial philosophy of Madame Blavatsky. That
Yeah.
we did.
You see
Yeah.
where it's all rooted, where everyone got their stuff from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
wow.
crazy.
Well, yeah. It's a trip. To me, it makes the world more interesting. Like people like shun it because they're like, oh no, I want to just stay comfortable. Like, what was it in the Matrix? Who was it? Cyrus or what was it? The guy who was like, didn't wanted to stay in the blue pilled reality.
Oh, he wanted to go
but
back,
that's
and he was the
act-
one eating the steak and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cypher.
Yeah,
The-
yep.
Yeah. That
right.
was the name.
But yeah, but in reality, it makes life way more interesting because you're watching this movie, but you're watching two movies. You're watching the regular mainstream, but then you can read the whole. It's like watching two movies at once.
Yes.
So yeah, to me, it's like doubly entertaining because I
Yeah.
can kind of like, I get what it's a trip about watching a movie. The psychology of it is kind of bizarre, where you're like. You're gonna watch it, it's not real, but you're gonna like pretend it is.
Yeah.
for
Because there's always a
entertainment,
deeper
like-
meaning. To me, there's always a deeper meaning behind it. Between every shot
Well-
and every word said.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everything has to be so meticulously planned that nothing's gonna be, happen by coincidence.
Every once in a
but-
while, there, obviously people will go offline and say some shit, but that's more like a comedic line or something
Well,
like that.
that also
right?
brings up magic and rituals again, because magic and rituals is the same thing as movies and directing. There's so much attention to detail, and everything has to be a certain way in order for it to work
work.
that much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing in I guess a lot of folks they want to stay comfortable, but like you're not going to be less comfortable. You can still understand this, and like I said, it's actually more fascinating. You know what I'm saying? It's not less fascinating now that you know this. You know, whatever the esoteric agendas behind a lot of I guess virtually everything we see on TV or the mainstream, particularly the mainstream movies. It doesn't ruin it. I guess people feel like it's going to ruin it for them. Like, but I don't know.
I find
to
it
me,
more
it's only made
entertaining.
everything more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because like you said, it's like you're reading. It's like you're getting two stories in one. You know what I'm saying? And I've been going back, and I was never one to like read the Bible or study the Bible, but I've been getting back into it. And ever since we had a guest that said the Bible is a codex and you have to read it in multiple layers, I've been going back and going through the stories and connecting it to all the other research, and it makes so much more sense. And the crazy thing is, it goes back to the people that don't want to listen. They just want to be comfortable in their reality. They're just like, you're not supposed to interpret it
But
that
you're
way.
the one that
It's
told
supposed
me to
just...
go interpret it. What do you mean? Now that I deciphered it, you don't like the decipher?
Exactly.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Being comfortable, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, particularly where I'm at in San Francisco, this is a very blue-pilled place. You know what I mean? It used to be much more diverse in that regard, but became, once this became like the mecca of tech, where everyone came for whatever their
Google, big
software,
Google over there.
everything, that Silicon Valley, and being around virtually all those people that pushed out all the people that weren't involved with tech on that level, and they've had 20 years to make it their society here. So I have no choice. I have a dog, so I'm walking around to my dog, around these people every day. So you're exchanging energy whether you like speak or don't speak. You know what I'm saying? So I've picked up that a lot of these folks they've really been taken over. You know what I mean? Where they're socially avoidant, to the extreme, and they're not really trying to connect, and it's unhealthy. It doesn't feel great. It's different.
But it's good for the company.
Yeah, it reaches all the way to politics too, and I think a big reason why the Democrat Party was taken over, because the Democrat Party has a lot of politics that have to do with identity, and when people have politics that are associated with their identity and you don't agree with their politics, then you're a threat to their identity. You know what I'm saying? So that becomes, if you're a Republican, then that means you're a threat to my existence, and I shouldn't be friends with you. I shouldn't talk to you, or on different teams and stuff like that. When in reality, when we were growing up, it was like, your parents could be Republicans and the other parents could be Democrats, and they just talk about it at wine for 10 minutes and then they get onto a different subject and everyone can live their lives. You know what I mean? But now it's become so polarized that people don't realize that it's a uniparty system that's tricking us. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, the fact that it's blue versus red, to me, that's like a big joke. It's like, how is no one seeing this? That this is like, and it's like on site where like they really, it's like gangbangers, but now they're like.
I think the game even said it like Democrats and Republicans. Republicans. That's what the game
funny.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of that stuff in San Francisco that you're up there? Like a lot of people just
to the extreme. I mean, here it's like fanatical. You know what I'm saying? Where and I stay out of it. I'm not. Again, like you were saying, like to me, it's all facade. So I'm not gonna rep either side for sure.
Exactly.
Not.
Yeah.
But here, it's most people expect you if you're not like gang banging for their team. You know what I mean? It's like then you're like the enemy.
Yeah,
But
you're against them.
again.
Yeah.
To me, it's a joke to be either one. It's like ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Especially year after year, election after election, one side gets promised some things, they elect in their person, and the promises don't get delivered, and then the other party gets it in the next few years, and it's like it's just a cycle that keeps recycling itself.
It's all theater. It's like professional wrestling. You know what I mean? It's all like WWE.
Yeah.
And even Trump did a cameo in professional wrestling. Did you ever see his little cameo, like body slamming someone? And so it's almost like
Vince
making it
McMahon.
dumb obvious that it is. Yo, I got to bounce. I got someone coming over.
For sure.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. No, it was
Yeah.
a great episode, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for coming
Absolutely.
on. You dropped some bombs.
I love you guys' podcast. What you're doing.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
bro. We're probably gonna get the internet upset again, so thank you for stopping by.
That's the goal.
It was the Genie. We out. Peace out, bro.
Have a good one.
Right
Later,
on, my
bro.
brother.
Yes, sir.
Talk
yes,
soon.
sir. Peace out. Yeah, that was the Genie dropping bombs on him.
that was
You know
good.
what I'm saying?
That was good.
Yeah, dude, it goes deep.
We
What
go
about-
deep, homeboy.
What about that Sabrina Carpenter stuff, bro?
Yeah, I mean that we talked about a lot of Easter eggs without even mentioning her that has to do with her music videos that tie into Stanley Kubrick, that tie into all these little Easter eggs that are in movies that obviously she didn't put in her music videos, but she was the person, you know, that was center stage. Like I said, with that church scandal, right? They filmed her music video in this church, and it was all total opposite of church. You know, she was doing all this crazy stuff, had caskets with dead dudes in there that betrayed her, all this stuff. And then they investigated the, how do you say it, Monsignor or whatever, Monsieur, the head of the Catholic Church. They investigated him, and he said that the treatment they gave him wasn't about that. So he didn't green light that naughty stuff. But who knows, because he got in trouble for financial issues after that with Eric Adams, the mayor. So who knows how
Mayor of New York.
Yeah, how dirty this head of the church was. So he probably
telling
did
you.
know about that music video.
Media, movies, politics, it's all intertwined.
It's all
folks.
connected.
If you guys have not seen the pattern by now, I don't know what to tell you guys. You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys for tuning in. Outside Minds podcast. We got Todd's birthday coming up soon. So it's kind of weird that Genie left early because I wanted to film this anyway. So.
Oh, shit. What?
One of your birthday presents, bro. Open that up.
That's a real one?
Yep.
That's crazy. Yep. Because when I heard it on Joe Rogan shit, I was like, I need one of them, but I ain't finna blow that shit. Ooh, let's see what this.
Aztec death whistle.
Hey, yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, bro.
That's
Go
fucking
outside and do it outside your
sick.
house at 3 a.m. for
No,
the next.
I'm good, bro. 3:33 in the morning, the witching hour.
Yes.
I'm gonna show my neighbor. He probably gonna trip out too. This is hard. Good looking, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate
for
it.
Sure. Happy early birthday, bro.
Hell yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, Outside Minds podcast. I forgot to say it earlier, but I'm Stilo Free. This is the other co-host and creator.
Top 420.
And this has been another episode of the Outside Minds podcast. We went deep. We talked mind control. We talked Hollywood. We talked Aleister Crowley. We talked esotericism. We talked Eric Adams. Who did Eric Adams got in trouble because of Sabrina Carpenter video filmed at a church?
Yeah, it's crazy how it just connects whether it needs to or not. You know,
They're just gonna get caught with their pants down.
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Outside Minds podcast with the Genie. Outside Minds podcast. I'm Stilo Free. This is
Top 420. You already said that, but peace.
We out.